Welcome back. So after weeks of political wrangling, a High Court appearance and a postponed budget, Parliament has finally adopted the Appropriation Bill. The bill allocates resources to national budgets, public entities, and also transfers to provinces and municipalities. Let's cross live now to Newzroom Afrika's very own Vaylen Kirtley, who's been listening in very attentively to the different perspectives of the various political parties on the Appropriations Bill. But finally, we get to the other side of this, Vaylen.
Thank you very much, Naledi. A very good evening to you and a very good evening to our viewers. It has been a long couple of months and also brought to the fore for many South Africans just the long, arduous and legislative process that is surrounded in actually passing the budget, because as much as the finance minister tables it, there are a number of processes that it must go through in Parliament. And we've seen how this has been used by political parties to highlight certain areas of concern for them. Late last night, we had the DA saying that they are now going to backtrack and they are in fact going to support the appropriations budget, which is the final step for the national budget, of which there are three distinct processes: the passing of the fiscal framework, the division of revenues bill, and then this final bill being the appropriations bill. Last night, following the setting aside and the firing of Newzroom the DA saying that they will now actually support the appropriations bill, and their support was crucial because what we saw today in Parliament, sitting at the CTICC, was the number of objections to all of the different votes. So what you had today was the reading of the appropriations bill, and then they go through each of the different individual departmental votes, of which in South Africa we have a total of 42. The EFF and the official opposition, the MK party, staying true to their word that they would actually oppose each and every single one of them. And they did find some support from the NCC, from the ATM, and from the UAT. And in certain budgets, they also got support and opposition from Action SA. Action SA themselves are going against 18 different departmental votes and voting for 24 of them, and also some no voting or rejection of support from the ACDP. But in the end, on the entire array of those different 42 departmental budgets, it did actually pass 264 and just 88 in the House voting against it. So what we have now is officially the final step in the national budget finally coming to life, the appropriations bill being passed. What was interesting was when the vote for the Human Settlements Department was brought forward, everybody held their breath to hear exactly what the DA would say. Now, you'll remember that when Andrew Whitfield was sacked from being a deputy minister from the Department of Trade and Industry, the DA came out and they said that they are no longer going to be a part of the national dialogue, and they would also vote against the budgets of corrupt ministers until they were fired by the president of South Africa. They managed to get it right with the Higher Education and Basic Training Minister, Newzroom. However, Thembi Simelane, who is the Minister of Human Settlements, remains in her position. So when that vote came up, everybody held their breath, and the DA said that they vote for that budget to pass. There was loud cheers from the rest of the House. Action SA didn't waste any time in highlighting that, in fact, the DA has gone against what it has promised South Africans and South African voters by standing true to its word. And even in the House, Julius Malema of the EFF noted that the DA had, in fact, voted for Thembi Simelane's department's vote. When we chatted to John Steenhuisen following the appropriations bill being passed, he said that he is just relieved that, in fact, we do now have a national budget for South Africa to go forward with.
Budget, as a government, you've got to do two things: elect a president and then pass a budget. And I think, like any budget in a coalition, there are parts of it that you are happy about, there are parts of it you're less happy about. And I think the budget is a good balance of compromise within the government of national unity. And I think we're relieved now that it's passed the House today with a significant majority, and it now gets down to business of delivering on the pledges made in this budget and making sure that the money is spent well in the service of the people of the Republic of South Africa.
And Naledi, when John Steenhuisen was asked whether or not they would be backtracking on their removal from the national dialogue, Steenhuisen said absolutely not. He said it was not a national dialogue, but in fact an ANC monologue, and that in fact South Africa had already had a national dialogue with the national elections last year. And right now, South Africa needs to focus on the work of actually getting to action. The MK party, the official opposition, they voted against not only the reading of the Appropriations Bill on the 2 different occasions, but also on each and every single one of the 42 individual departmental budgets. And I chatted to the MK party's Brian Melefe afterwards.
We will not be supporting the Appropriation Bill. We feel that this budget does not address the deep problems of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. That people are going hungry. There is no a plan to help people out of their poverty and hunger. The economy is not growing. The Treasury has targeted growth rate of 1.4%. Estimates that the economy will only grow at 1.4%. The medium-term development plan says we need a growth rate of 3% to deal with unemployment by 2036. So we're not nowhere near what is required to be done. We feel that we need drastic measures to deal head-on with the problem of poverty, with the problem of unemployment, and the problem of inequality. The South African economy has cruised along on autopilot for the last 30 years.
So, Naledi, South Africa and Parliament breathing a sigh of relief as the national budget is finally going to be able to be brought to life. But the very real challenges of South Africans remain: high unemployment, crime, and a lot of questions around where South Africa is actually going, how we are going to be getting South Africa out of the sluggish growth. So as much as we now officially have a way in which the South African government is going to be distributing its budget of 1.2 trillion rand, those very real challenges for South Africans remain. And for many in government, that is the big question that the voters have put them in this house to actually answer.
Critical questions that you ask there, Vaylen, around what we do about the many challenges as a country that we do still have. But as of this evening, we do now have the final hurdle of getting that budget across the line finally being dealt with. Vaylen Kirtley, of course, bringing us the latest from Cape Town. They're keeping an eye on all things National Assembly for us.